In this video, we will see some results concerning prime numbers. Let's begin by recalling that an integer n greater than 1 is called a prime number if its only positive divisors are 1 and n, and it is called composite otherwise. So for example, the first few prime numbers are 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, and so on, while the first few composite numbers are 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, and so on. Traditionally, we will reserve the letters p, q, and r to denote prime numbers. The prime numbers are considered the built-in blocks of the integers, and the next few results we are going to prove will show why this is the case. So our first result says that every natural number greater than 1 is divisible by a prime. Why is this? Well, if n is prime itself, then it's divisible by the prime number n, so we may assume that n is composite. But if it's composite, then it's divisible by some number d, which is between 1 and n, strictly greater than 1 and strictly less than n. So let us consider the set S of all such divisors of n. I will consider the set S of all d such that d divides n and d is greater than 1 and less than n. This set S is non-empty, and so by the well-ordering axiom, it contains a minimal element. Let us call it P. And what we are going to show? We are going to show that P is prime. And of course, since P divides n, it is enough to show that P is prime. So suppose for contradiction that it is not the case, that this is not the case. So there is some integer m which divides P and is greater than 1 and less than P. But then, of course, since m divides P, it divides n as well. So it belongs to the set S as is strictly greater than 1 and strictly less than P, which is strictly less than n. But this contradicts the minimality of P, so it cannot happen. So P was indeed prime, as we wanted to show. Okay, our next result says that every natural number n greater than 1 actually can be expressed as a product of primes. So for example, 120, we can write it as 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 5, and all of these numbers are primes. Okay, let's prove this, and we will proceed by strong induction on n. So for n equals 2, the result is true, as 2 is itself a prime number. Okay, remember that in the strong induction, what we do, we take k greater than 1, natural number, and we suppose now that all natural numbers less than or equal to k, and of course greater than 1, can be written as products of primes. And our task is to show, for the inductive step, is to show that k plus 1 can also be written as a product of primes. So if k plus 1 is prime, then this is true and we are done. Otherwise, we can find a prime number p which divides k plus 1 by the previous theorem. So there is some natural number m such that p times m is equal to k plus 1. And of course, since 1 is less than p is less than k plus 1, then the same holds for m. Okay, by the induction hypothesis, since m is strictly greater than 1 and is strictly less than k plus 1, it is a product of prime numbers. But then so is k plus 1 because it's the product of m, which is itself a product of prime numbers, times the prime number p. So we will see shortly that this expression of a number n as a product of primes is unique apart from the order in which we multiply the primes. But before we prove this, we need to prove some preparatory lemmas. And the first one is one we already know. It's Euclid's lemma, which says that if p is prime and p divides a times b, then p divides a or p divides b. Actually, when we studied it earlier, we said that if p is prime and p divides a b, with p not dividing a, then it divides b, but this is exactly the same thing. Okay, and this lemma can also be generalized as follows. If p is a prime number, and p divides the product of a1 up to an, then it must divide some ai. So let's prove it, and we'll proceed by induction on n. In both cases, n equals 1. So the case n equals 1 is immediate. Why? It says that p divides a1, and we want to show that p divides a1. Case n equals 2, the lemma says that p divides a1 times a2, and we want to show that it divides a1 or it divides a2, but this is exactly Euclid's lemma. So let us now assume that the result is true for n equals k, and we are going to show that it is true for k plus 1. So for the inductive step, we need to show that if p divides the product of a1 up to ak plus 1, then p divides ai for some I. And the trick here is to write the product of a1 up to ak plus 1 as the product of a1 up to ak times ak plus 1. And by Euclid's lemma, since p divides this product of these two numbers, the two numbers being ak plus 1 and the product of a1 up to ak, then it must divide one of the two. It must divide ak plus 1, or it must divide the product of a1 up to ak. Of course, if it divides ak plus 1, then we're done. We wanted to show that it divides some ai, and it divides ak plus 1. On the other hand, so we may assume that p divides the product of a1 up to ak. But then we are again done by the induction hypothesis. Because the induction hypothesis, the case n equals k, says that if p divides the product of a1 up to ak, then it divides some ai. Okay, and we are now ready to prove what we claimed, which is known as the fundamental theorem of arithmetic. And it says that every natural number greater than 1 can be expressed as a product of primes. And furthermore, this expression is unique, apart from the order in which the primes occur. Okay, and we have already shown that we can express n as a product of primes, so what it remains is to show uniqueness. So let's suppose that we can write it as two different products of primes, say p1 times up to pr, and the product of q1 up to qs, where all numbers p1 up to pr, q1 up to qs are primes. And let's put an order of them. We may assume that p1 is less than or equal up to less than or equal to pr, and q1 is less than or equal ... less than or equal to qs. And we may assume this because what we are claiming is uniqueness up to order, so we can reorder them at will. And we also assume that p1 is less than or equal to q1, which we can again do because we have two expressions here. We can take any one we want as the first expression. Okay, what's our aim here? Our aim is to show that these two expressions are actually the same. And to show that they are the same, we need to show that R is equal to S, and that P1 is equal to Q1, P2 is equal to Q2, all the way up to PR being equal to QR. Okay, so observe that P1 divides N. Why? Because N is equal to P1 times ... times PR, so it divides N. And if it divides N, then it divides Q1 up to QS. So P1 divides Q1 times ... times QS. So by our previous lemma, we know that P1 divides Qi for some I. But Qi is itself prime, so the only natural numbers that divide it are 1 and Qi. But P1 cannot be equal to 1, so it must be equal to Qi. But we also know that P1 is less than or equal to Q1, which is less than or equal to Qi. And since P1 is equal to Qi, then all these three numbers are equal, and in particular we also have that P1 is equal to Q1. Okay, so we can divide both sides by the number P1 in Q1, and we will get that the product of P2 up to PR is equal to the product of Q2 up to QS. And we're repeating the same procedure, we get that P2 is equal to Q2, and so on. And of course now we must have that R is equal to S. As otherwise, if for example R was less than S, then if we continue in this manner, we will get that all the P's will cancel, and we will get that 1 was equal to QR plus 1 times ... times QS, which is impossible, because the QI's are primes, and they are greater than 1. Okay, so R is indeed equal to S, and repeating the above procedure, we get that P1 is equal to Q1, P2 is equal to Q2, and so on, all the way up to PR being equal to QR as required. Our next result says that there are infinitely many prime numbers. And this result goes back to Euclid, is proposition 20 in book 9 of the Elements. So let's proceed to see the extremely elegant proof of this theorem. So we assume for contradiction that there are only finitely many prime numbers. And let's say that the only prime numbers are P1, P2, up to Pn. Okay, and then the trick is to consider the number capital N, which is the product of the numbers P1 up to Pn plus 1. Now this number N is greater than each Pi, and since the Pi's are the only primes, N cannot be a prime itself, because it will be a different prime. And so it must be a composite number. But we know that if it's a composite number, then there is a prime P which divides it. And this number P must be one of the P1 up to Pn. So let's say that Pi divides N. Okay, but Pi also divides N minus 1, because N minus 1 is the product of P1 up to Pn. But if Pi divides N and it divides N minus 1, then it divides 1 as well. And this is a contradiction because only 1 divides 1, and each prime number must be greater than 1. So this completes the proof. And there are indeed infinitely many prime numbers. Okay, so suppose that somebody gives us a natural number n and asks us whether it's a prime or not. So how can we determine whether it's prime? We can of course check whether n is divisible by 2, 3, 4, all the way up to n minus 1. If it's divisible by any of these numbers, then it must be composite. And if it isn't, then it must be prime. What the next result says is that it's actually enough to check divisibility only with prime numbers, and only with numbers less than the square root of n. So the theorem says that if n is composite, then it must have a prime divisor which is less than or equal to the square root of n. So let's see why this is true. Since it is composite, there is a prime number p which divides n. So n is equal to p times m for some natural number m. Now if p is less than or equal to square root of n, we are done. We found a prime number which divides it and is less than or equal to root n. If this is not the case, then m must be equal to must be less than or equal to the square root of n. But m itself is divisible by some other prime number, let's say q. And then q is less than or equal to m, so it's less than or equal to the square root of n, so we are again done. Okay, so for example, if we want to check whether 109 is prime or not, it is enough to check divisibility only with prime numbers which are less than or equal to the square root of 109, which is a little bit less than 11. So we only need to check divisibility with 2, 3, 5, and 7, and an immediate check shows that 109 is not divisible by any of these, so it is prime. Okay, so in fact there are even faster methods to check primality, and there was a breakthrough relatively recently in 2002 by Agrawal, Kayal, and Saxena, who produced a theoretically much faster algorithm, and in doing so they solved a long-standing problem, which was whether this can be done in polynomial time. So I'm not going to explain what I mean by theoretically much faster or polynomial time, so we're going to stop here.